Hello everybody, my name's Starraptor and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing for you guys, spoiler free of course, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This is directed by Harry Potter director David Yates and it's written by J.K. Rowling, because if you didn't already know, this is connected to the Harry Potter universe. This actually takes place about 70 years before the events of the first Harry Potter. And when I first heard that this movie was announced, or this franchise rather, because now we have 5 of them that are going to be in this universe, I was like, do we really need this? Do we really need this? And obviously, I'm a big Harry Potter fan, if you couldn't tell. I pick up all the books, I read all the books, obviously watched all the movies. But after watching this movie, I said, you know what, I think we could use a couple more movies in this wonderful, magical world. And that's the great thing about this movie, is we actually go to a completely other continent that we've never been to with the Harry Potter universe. We're in the United States, specifically New York City, and I'm going to jump right on into the plot, guys. So what we have is a whole new cast of characters, obviously. The main character is Newt Scamander. He is a guy that dropped out of Hogwarts, was kicked out, and he basically works with these magical beasts that are found all throughout the world. So he goes to New York City, he has this briefcase. If you've seen the trailers, you kind of have an idea of what's going on. Yes, all his creatures actually get out and they escape, and they're kind of causing havoc, and he's trying to get them back. But at the same time, we have this other storyline which involves the character of Graves. Now, he works for the Ministry of Magic, basically for the United States, called the Magical Congress of the United States of America, called MACUSA. So he is tracking down this entity that has been wrecking New York City, this kind of like invisible force of wind and just magic that is just going everywhere. So you got this character who's kind of like the investigator, going around trying to find pieces and clues of what's going on. At the same time, he basically is trying to set up a spy with this one character that's called Clarence. And this guy, this little kid, he's like a teenager, and he's belonging to this house of people that hate witches, and they're basically witch hunters. So you got these characters now in the Harry Potter universe. Again, this is like 1920, that are going against what is the magical world. Basically over there is called the No Magi, is what the New York people call the Muggles. So a couple other characters in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them are the characters of Kowalski and Tina. So Kowalski actually literally runs into Newt Scamander, and they kind of become friends. He's a No Magi, no magic whatsoever. And then we also have the character of Tina. And Tina is actually working for the Magical Congress of the United States of America. She used to be like on the investigative team and made some mistakes with these Salem people, and unfortunately got demoted to like a wand handler person. So she's actually able to use magic. So you got that kind of side of things with Newt Scamander being from England, being from Hogwarts, and now interacting with all these magical users in America. So it's pretty interesting. And, you know, it all comes together, and the pieces fit in, and these two storylines eventually converge, and we get the conclusion of the story. So I'm going to go into my positives for Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. So yes, this does awesome world building for the entire Harry Potter universe. Like I mentioned, this is in New York. We get a different side of the magical users. We see a couple new spells we've never seen before. So it's really cool to see different things about different names mentioned that we all know from Harry Potter way in the future. So I really enjoyed that aspect. Of course, I really like this being in New York City. This is kind of a period piece. So we see all of the old cars, just the lingo they use to talk. It's just a really cool thing to kind of take you back. I want to talk specifically about the No Magi character Kowalski. So this guy is kind of swept up in the adventure of Newt Scamander in the process of Newt trying to get his beast, and he takes this guy along on an adventure. And it's really interesting because as an audience, you're kind of seeing through Kowalski's eyes of what is going on around him, and it's just unbelievable. I think the one quote he says, which is pretty funny, is being like, "I'm not dreaming because my brain can't think of things like this," because it's just so out there and far-fetched. All the things he's experienced in it, he can't really process it with his brain. So that was really, really cool for me. And of course, I can't talk about this movie without talking about the beasts and the creatures that are within this film. Unlike any other Harry Potter film, we've never seen this many creatures, from insects to large rhino animals to like little things that, you know, get money, like store money in their stomachs. Like, there are so many interesting designs. And the one part I really enjoy in this is when they go inside the suitcase of Newt Scamander. It's basically like a zoo, and he's got all these segmented parts of where to go for these different animals' habitats and whatnot. And it's just really cool seeing these animals going out in New York City and kind of causing mayhem and havoc. And yeah, I think it really hit home the point that this is a creature movie, and we definitely got that. Another thing I want to talk about on a more serious note is where this movie does get kind of dark, and it deals with things like prosecution of minorities and things of that sense, with the Salem people I was talking about that are against the wizards and the witches, and they want nothing to do with these people. And it's like basically there's a war about to break, and that's kind of what leads into this whole conflict with Graves and with these Salem people. They're trying, these people in America, the wizards, are trying to, you know, not let this escalate, obviously, to start an all-out war. So we have that constant tension throughout the movie, which I really enjoyed. And finally, I like to talk about the ending of this movie. I think it tied up all things very, very nicely. It kind of reflected, in a way, the ending to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I really liked how this ending also kind of made this film stand on its own. Like, you could have watched this film and watched it and been like, okay, that's good. I'm good with this franchise. But you could also see where this will carry off into another movie, and basically have four more movies coming out after this. So that is basically what I thought. Positives of this movie. There were some negatives I had, though. Certainly, this was one of the biggest problems I had. Was it's not really a plot thing, but it was more of a language barrier. I kind of had trouble understanding what Eddie Redmayne was saying half of the movie, especially in the beginning. I mean, I've seen many British television and movies. I've seen all the Harry Potter movies, never had a problem. Watched Game of Thrones and a lot of stuff. So I'm no stranger to British, dialogue, but I just had a hard time understanding him. It was like he spoke too fast or something like that, and not clear enough. So that kind of took me out, because I'm like sitting there trying to think of what he said, and they're already moving on. I'm like, oh, this is not how I want to enjoy this right now. So that really took me out of it. Also, there were moments in here of humor that were just downright terrible. I mean, I was just like, that was supposed to be funny. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Just one of those things where they try a little bit too hard, and they didn't really need to, especially with some of the... I know they were trying to add humor, because underneath, like I said before, this movie is sort of dark. One of the darker Harry Potter movies. You might be careful to take your real young ones with you, because there might be points where they get really scared in this movie and some serious stuff goes down. But I digress. One final thing I want to talk about, the negatives, would be about certain sequences felt like they didn't really need to be there. They did a lot with the Beast, probably a little bit too much. They could have tied the story together a little tighter. I just felt like they added those sequences in maybe just to add more flair, more visual flair for what they can do. Alright, so I'm going to give Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them a score of an 8.5 out of 10. I actually really enjoyed this story. I'm really looking forward to seeing where we go from here. I mean, we already got casting news ahead of this movie's release that the next movie is actually going to be back in Europe. So we'll see where that goes. We got a couple cool casting announcements. We know that Dumbledore is going to be in the sequel. So what'd you think of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them? Make sure you comment in the section below. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Please hit that like symbol, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you never miss another one of my videos. I'm Starraptor. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye. So, did you like the video? Then make sure you rate it a thumbs up, and if you did that, go over there, hit that Starraptor head so you subscribe to my channel. Doing so will keep you up to speed on all of my latest content. Speaking of which, you can see a couple of my recent uploads down below. I'm also on social media, so what are you waiting for? Let's start nerding out.